All right. Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna take off my jacket here just because it is super warm with the on. Um, and I'm gonna say hello. And anyone who joins online while we do this workshop, um, hello to you. If I do not recognize you right away, or if Elijah doesn't recognize you right away, but we will see you, and just raise your hand or chime in. Workshops are meant to be more collaborative between the presenters and the people watching the workshop itself. So we want you to be able to ask questions and really help you out along through this. That said, it is April 10th, 2025. We started a little bit late here just due to scheduling, but we are up and running. And today we are going to go over one of the most important things that I think I've witnessed and been a part of being in student groups is transitions, right? Like transitioning from one set of student leaders to the next, right? And what it all takes to make that be as successful and effective with keeping the strength and the engagement with your membership and with your potential new members, right? And making sure that you're reaching your overall mission of what your group, or in this case, what your student club is trying to do, why it exists. So we're going to dive into that today, go over some things, and have a good time. So that said, I'll let Elijah just introduce himself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. So, I guess for introductions, I'm Elijah, the marketing club coordinator for EOT. And in today's transition document presentation, I'm just going to go over the agenda. So, what are transition documents? Why do they matter? Why should you care about them? And then we're going to be going over benefits for everyone. And then what goes into a transition document. And then next, we're going to be going over the transition process and best practices. So what can you do to make an optimal transition document for the next upcoming leadership roles? And then lastly, finish off this presentation with next steps and actionable items.
Well said, Elijah. Well said. So yeah, the concept of the workshop itself, the concept of transitions, club transitions is a thing within itself. It's a topic within itself. But one of the big ones within that, really that helps to kind of, again, from my experience as a leader, student leader, is transition documents, right? So, what are these transition documents? Well, there are a lot of different things. They're small, they're large, they're comprehensive. Sometimes they're even vague in case when they need to be, but they're a go-to guide of what everything about the club is and how to make sure that it's being ran effectively and successfully, right? So some of these things here, right? It gives the knowledge of what the club is, or what its mission is, its goals that's trying to achieve, the objectives. It's you're the only one here. And it also things that your experiences along the way, right? So and then when we talk about some clubs, they've been going on for a long time, right? And I just last night was looking at some student success award stuff from Clarion and saw I think it was a ASA that had some stuff all the way back from 2014, right? So that club has been going a very long time, right? So maybe back when that club started, it had one mentality or one real driving approach on how it wanted to reach its goals and what its mission was all about. Maybe that's changed, right? All the information though is important to try to share and move along to the next set of student leaders, because it helps you understand that the group itself is evolving, and it's a living thing in its way, right? So, and then it helps you better to kind of tap into that and feel like you know how to really guide it as a leader, right? So, but yeah, and kind of going more into the continuity, right? So, um, you end your year, right? And you go off and do your summer break thing or what have you. And then you come back in the fall, and the club re-registration process starts all over again. The incentive program for the fall starts all over again. All of the things you gotta do for that incentive program, which really are just club management things, right? Like submitting your club goals and things that you would really would do anyway, but we want to incentivize and give you money. But what I get to that is, I mean, everything just resets, right? And all the information, the knowledge, and the experiences, the good and the bad that you went through, without some way of, the advisor may be able to provide some of that, right? But they're an advisor, they're a staff, they're not the same level as a student, and that student, in connection with one another as leaders, right? All that stuff is lost. So having that continuity is super important to allow, hey, these things were needed to make sure that we could do these things. We we go on these trips, or we attend these professional development things. So we need to have this ready by this time. You're laying out a roadmap to be able to have a smooth transition from one set of leaders to the next, right? And then what's that do? I mean, it reduces stress and uncertainty, right? I mean, we've all been in different various levels of stressful and uncomfortable, weird situations, right? And not when those moments hit, right? It's sometimes really hard to be able to know how to proceed, right? It can be a little bit like it can be just stopping your tracks, right? Having some sort of guide, right, is going to allow you to be able to not have to deal with that potentially, right? I mean, you're still gonna have to deal with some of it, right? But we want the least amount possible. And then, yeah, it does save time. I mean, what do they say there, Elijah? History tends to repeat itself or whatnot. Rich, you know what that the history of repeats, something like that. Some really great. Well, it's true though. History does repeat itself, and if we can avoid things by providing information as to, well, we tried to do this event uh, during this time a year, and we found that does not hit our audience. It does. We are, that's good to know. You don't put that all the effort into something that's not going to have any payoff, right? So something to think about that. So moving on, what goes into a transition document? Well, again, like a concept, a lot of different things, right? And so touching on some of these, and this would be a good time to kind of throw out the first set of mini sets of information that people can share along with your. We have on Wolfpack Connect one set of documents that can be downloaded, that you can use and think about while we go over this. As these are what I've created that I found to be most useful, right? So and let me just pull open and where did we put them? In the newly minted resource hub that we've been saying that we're going to get going. So in our resource hub, they will be templates. So we're going to click there. One of them is not working. I never got a chance to fix that, so I'll share that one out. But the other one, this monthly overview, that one we do have here. So you're able to click and open it up. Actually, I mean that's the cool thing. You can open it up, save this. I created it so that you can fill it out. But this first document here helps to kind of brainstorm, as it says, and then the second part of it is develop. It's basically when you can kind of categorize and really put your tasks in of what you did each month. You can really start to be able to organize the thoughts, the approach, what you needed. I brought up to Elijah and one of our other EL team members, Carol, earlier about, hey, we did Winterfest, right? Well, what did we need to be successful with that, right? To get that snow globe, to get the golf putty, all that stuff we had to strategically plan it out, map it out, figure out when we had to contact somebody, what resources we need. Well, I know that happened in February, so I could go ahead and maybe put down, hey, we did Winterfest, right? Like, and then I could probably put down Old Truex and Goodman South, right? And then I can have that down there, and I can put down, I know we had some, the training or whatnot, or I could be more specific, but this is more just a brainstorm to get the information out of you, right? And to really think about it. And I only went to June. I don't really think how many clubs are going past that. But then this next part here is you're really starting to detail that out right now, right? So I can be a little bit more descriptive now on this and say, for Winterfest, right? Like we had to. I mean, I'm just gonna put in the week before, right? We had to get all the get decorations. I'm not gonna spell any of this stuff right, but whatever. And then have Carol get those decorations ready, and up in the room. We had to make sure that we had all of the the club join info, right? Eldro was on that, and like you were starting to kind of build on this thing, right? Like have the whiteboards ready and are written on, whatever, right? So I mean, it allows for building a little bit, right? So I'm gonna go back, but I before I show the other one, but it kind of gives you some idea, right? So back to this, and this is gonna be choppy as hell, right? And I hate this part of it. But whatever. All right, so yeah, the timelines, right? Do you have weekly meetings, right? Like if you have those, how often, right? What are big events? What money do you generally need? You're right. Like I mean, we provide funding. Does your club have money in this account? If you have specific trips that are going to require money, prepping out like, okay, well, we did need money for these things, right? And requested it from your ELT, so be ready to submit some budget requests, important files, things that maybe were very useful, like I just use anyone can use this one, but the travel waiver, right? Like, oh, we use a travel waiver, everyone uses that, right? Anytime they go traveling, but that's an important form that you need to have, right? So if you had something like that for your club, right, that was like, it was our form, like our sign up form, or get involved form, like making sure that you're noting that, right? And yeah, stuff like that. So a good transition document is comprehensive but organized. It should be a practical guide. That really says it, right? So I'm gonna hand it over to you, there, buddy or pal.
All right, yeah, thank you, Sean, for the quick demo of what goes in a transition document. But then we're gonna be talking about contact information, so this kind of goes into a transition document too. So whole officer team, so for example, I'm gonna have to set up a transition document because I graduate spring. But I'm also gonna have to list out full officer teams, so my two other positions, so Aljo's and Carol's roles, I'm gonna have to include that. And kind of what their description entails, and then the club advisor, so this will kind of be Sean in this instance. And then some key campus contacts, so student life office, the IE, so Linda would be a good one to contact, and then event services. For example, like Sean mentioned earlier, we did Winterfest. Even prior to that event, we needed to talk and consult with Bill and event services to set the whole operation. And then just some other important external contacts outside of the school that would be helpful for the next officers.
I mean, yeah, when we did Campus Fun Day,
Yeah.
we had, contacted, the Kona Ice people, or whatever, like, hey, that was really successful. A lot of students really like that.
Yeah.
That might be somebody that we might want to have, some service with next year. And that may be somebody that we want to put down as a good contact for a good, a good event like plan, right? You know,
Yeah.
then I'll go next one here.
Well, I mean, you
Don't you, next one?
Okay. And then some role responsibilities and timelines. So for each officer position, just pretty much have a detailed summary description, the duties and responsibilities. For this part, you do want to refer to bylaws and practical details. And then for each officer position, just want to list the ongoing tasks. So regular activities, such as creating events, managing social media accounts and emails, etc. And then annual semester timeline, so critical dates and deadlines. And then for each officer position, just tips for success. You want to add that for specific advice for managing the role efficiently.
You put it right, nail right on the head, dude. You really, yep, heck yeah. So, yeah, we move on, yeah, processes and procedures, right? So, yeah, I mean, for all of our trainings, you know, like with meeting management, right? So we've been having, I think we've had total of maybe 11 trainings in total for this year, when we end the last one next week, right? Each one of those I've, for the most part, had to reserve a room, right? So I had to know, hey, what rooms allow me to do hybrid with classroom live. So I needed to know what things I needed for my rooms, making sure that I'm thinking about how many people may attend. You know, like, let's be honest, for this one, I really overshot this, right? Barely no one showed up in person. That's a lot of pizza. I hope everyone is hungry that is here, because we are gonna finish every bite. But either way, like, those are things you're thinking about. But like, okay, I know that working with ELT, don't rely as much haven't been at least this year, on creating agendas for meetings. Maybe I'll do that for next year, but I know when I was in student senate, we did that all the time, right? That was how we operated. Well, how does your group operate, right? Do you need to have, do you think that agendas are important? Do you have some sort of something like meeting minutes where you can review the last meeting so everybody's aware of really what went on in that meeting, and what business maybe was discussed or agreed upon? I mean, whatever your group decides, I mean, maybe that's important to be putting down. But the decision making, like who, and again, this referring back to what Elijah said, yes, some of this is gonna have refer to the bylaws, right? But it's always a good opportunity, especially at the end of a year, right? As you are the student leaders, to discuss and say, hey, bylaws, do they meet our needs? And do they need to be updated to be more modern with what we're looking for, right? This is the perfect time to really start thinking about that. So maybe at that time, right, you're thinking, hey, maybe we should add another officer position. Maybe they should have this ability to be making these decisions for this area. But overall, if we want to have a total club decision where we effectively put something in the works, we have to have X amount of people agree, whatever it may be. But that is something to think about, right? Yeah, I've already touched on forms and procedures, but how to access your club funds, right? Financial procedures, right? I mean, the club advisor, will now moving forward, have access to this. They may not fully know that yet, but they will, and they can be able to see what your balance in your club is, right? If you have any money. But yeah, how do you access it? The other way, you could come and contact me, right? I have the access to do that, and I send out the balance at each semester. But you may not know that, right? So it might be nice to kind of be like, hey, I wanted to do this. I mean, I actually have an example of a club that was looking to get resources, and they they didn't know that they had money, even available, but they, had the opportunity to have someone kind of give them that input, they would have known, right? So, important, right? And then, yeah, communication, right? Like, going back, yeah, a little bit to, Elijah here on the previous slide, but yeah, who is who? Who's the must know? Who is down to that nitty gritty, right? Like, people that are important to, that help you the most, right? And if it may, hey, there may not be, I don't know, that was weird, something just, and did something on my computer, sorry, but like, you may have somebody who may not be an advisor specifically to the club, but who may just be very helpful to helping you get, maybe, become a better leader, maybe they have something that they can provide to, the next group, right? And then be somebody, maybe it's, higher up, administration in the college, or your leadership roles, right? All of those things are maybe important to put down, but, also, yeah, do you have active members versus, members that can come and go, during the year, but they're not really able to, really make decisions, as part of, an overall group choice, right? Like, well, maybe if you want to be, reaching out to specific members, making sure that you get down how you did that in the procedure and the list, right? And yeah, so, and then, I'm gonna move on, to, next slide with important, files, resources, and access info. And you, buddy.
Thank you, Sean. So, like Sean said, important files, resources, and access info. So kind of just keep in mind where your documents are located. So where are the key important files? So whether that be Google Drive, either a personal one or a school one, and then, yeah, so.
Oh, hey, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but hey, you brought up something that was really interesting. Next week, I think next week there's that's it. There's a training happening next week on files and form. That's a great place to put documents. Yeah, ding. I'll let you continue, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the plug, Sean.
Mhm.
But yeah, as I was going, files can be on OneDrive, or even the wolfpack connect files. So pretty much just kind of know where to locate those. And then some important documents were the club bylaws, so kind of the pillars of what makes your club, and then meeting agendas, budget records, finances, and then marketing materials and logos, just kind of an easy place where someone would be expected to find those files. And then account accesses, so list necessary accounts such as social media accounts, email accounts, or website admin, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, we have had, we've had clubs who have used a Discord server, for example, right? Like, we don't tell you how you can store files, or, that is up to your group and your club, right? But, so if you lose if a file or something that was really important, it goes missing, right? Like, it's just important to be able to document like where things were when they last were there and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, goals, histories, and lessons learned.
Goals, histories, and lessons learned. So club goals, such as current semester and year-end goals, and then long-term visions or mission statements, and then some ongoing projects that are currently taking place. So status update on current initiatives, and then recent history and successes. So major accomplishments, key events from the previous years, and challenges and lessons learned from those. So what worked well, what didn't, and advice for the future. Looking like what Sean mentioned way earlier before, the history tends to kind of repeat itself. So this is kind of where you want to realize like what worked well, so things be thought better.
I love it. It's great, man. So, advisor and campus resources, right? So, I will, and it has been one heck of a year, hasn't it, Elijah? Yeah, I mean, I think that smile is, you agree with me. And I think one thing that I know I have really witnessed and observed is we really need to define the role of the advisor more often, right? we've just had a lot of activity in that area, right? And I want to make it very clear to anyone who may watch this after the fact, way into the future now, and our massive audience that we have here right now, that a student club is a student club, right? Student ran, right? It is students making the decisions, right? You can have academic based clubs that have a little bit more assistance with an advisor, right? But it should be as much as you possibly can ran by students wanting to take on leadership and making decisions, right? Like that is the advisor does not have the right or the power to decide how the club is going to operate, who's going to do what, who can get removed, any of it. It's so I have been encouraging everyone this year to update their bylaws to make sure that if they don't have it in there, they put it in there, but if they do, and it's a little vague, that you be a little bit more descriptive of saying what the advisor's role is. It's the club's decision, how much they want the advisor to have the ability to have input and say and, be engaged with the group, but some may not need much, right? Some groups may be looking for more of an advisor who can be more of somebody that can give them, some learning skills, right? But it is always supposed to be the student club and the students running it. So make sure that what is the role of the advisor? Make sure you write that down so that if you have if you have an officer come in, maybe a next president of a club, and they don't know that they are, their role is that they get to make certain decisions on X, Y, and Z, right? They don't know because there's nothing that is told them. And so the advisor maybe just starts doing it. I mean, you want to make sure that you are aware of where your fence is, right? So you can stay within your fence or stay within your lane, or whatever analogy. But yeah, and then student life, hello, in ELT, I mean, with our drop-in hours, right, that we've been having, where you can come in and ask questions. I try to be as friendly and approachable as possible. So does the rest of the ELT members, right? But hey, I come in, I need some help with something, or I have a question about something. We try to help you, is right then and there, or try to at least get to you as fast as possible. But what if you need, I've had this happen. Elijah knows this. Hey, I need copies for something. Okay, we can do that, right? Club guy says we can, make some copies, and getting that done, right? Student life is a big main resource, right? So make sure that, how much you decide that you use student life resources, that you document that, right? And then, again, like other campus resources, what funding, I've already touched on this, that you might need, if you were to say, hey, we take these trips, ELT usually has been funding it. We only have so much money, right? What support, right? I know some clubs with marketing, they do not utilize us as much as they could, and and I've seen them utilize other areas to promote their club and what's going on in the club and events and hey, I mean, just making sure like, how do I get access? Or how do I post that? Or and then Wolfpack Connect, whoa, like super important, and such a great tool. Wolfpack Connect has been A+ amazing, right? I mean, it's like a big highlight. But yeah, making sure that you're putting down. I would love it if every club officer put down some sort of transition information that said, re-registration, check the club guide. There's a deadline. Just get your club re-registered. Make sure that your club roster is up to date. Because if it's not, you may, one, miss out on incentive points because they're not labeled correctly, and then the tracking doesn't work right. Or two, certain people may not be recognized or say service cords if they were graduating at the end. Just make sure you're updating things, right? That would be awesome because we don't want you to miss out on money. We don't want you to miss out on opportunities. We don't want you to miss out on having a club go inactive because you didn't hit the deadline, right? So we try to reach out, but uh, we want, if you can be a little bit more on top of it, and hey, that's always a better thing, always a better thing, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna go next here. How's everyone doing, by the way? Good. Oh, that's good, Kelly, that's good. Yeah. You know, cool. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Sean, so, for some tips on successful transition documents. So even before this, like I mentioned, I'm working on my transition document. And so I've been kind of wondering, like, what can I do or what can I have in front of me or organize so that I can have a successful one? And the first one is to start early, right? So right now would be actually a good time to start your transition documents if you need to do those. Don't wait last minute. It is something that should take time, but you can finish it fairly quick if you have everything organized in front of you. But then the next tip is to be honest and thorough, right? So include the good, bad, ugly, pretty much any lessons that you've learned so that the other future leaders can kind of know what to expect in your role. And then what's helped me is using a template. So standardizing the process for a consistent year-to-year basis. And then just schedule a deadline or a dedicated time to kind of complete the transition document. So even setting up transition meetings would be pretty good. And then make it a living document. So encourage incoming officers to update it throughout their term for the next transition to kind of make things easier by updating it, and then involve your advisor. So they are a key resource for continuity.
Yeah, I mean, and to speak on that, right? Let's like, yeah, it is ran by the student clubs are ran by students, right? But yeah, if you have an advisor that is more active, right? Like, you know, and they're gonna still be here, they decide not that they're gonna say, hey, I wanna still be at Madison College for the next year or whatever years, right? And I want to still be involved with being involunteering my time to be a club advisor. Yeah, they can help. They can help you a lot with making sure that you've got the continuity, right? So yeah, trying to involve them if they're able to be involved. But that living document one, I brought that up to you a little bit earlier. Like living document, that's huge, right? Like you have you have something where you add your thoughts, your everything that you think is important for your transition document, volume Sean, right? And then you hand it off to the next person, like, volume Ted, right? And he takes all that information and updates what's necessary, maybe important contacts or people or whatnot, and updates it with the current people, but also then adds his own things that he thought was also important. Hands it over to Jerry Lou Simon, right? That's the next version of the document. Like it becomes this massive amount of information. And like I used it, like I said, it was like an encyclopedia. That's important, right? Like again, the more information, the better. So yeah, you really said some amazing things there, buddy. And so yeah, I think here, you look at boom, next steps, action item, so our bring officers, right? Like I said, start it now, right? Like and use the templates, and where I'll share more of them here in a second, walk through with them. But like really, it's like you may not. I can use my experience and say like when I started my transition documents, and I'll show those in a second. I started those back in February, knowing that would be done in May, right? And I honestly had said to myself that I was going to start them sooner than February, but I don't think it to them until then. But when I started in February, what did I start to do? I just started to go ahead and maybe pick out emails that I thought were very important emails that had information that I had used a lot, just as a way to remember things. And so I just start compiling things, right? And putting ideas down and then coming back to them and then refining them, right? Like it is, hopefully this over this monthly overview will help kind of make that a little bit easier. Because you can start to just jot down some ideas and then really kind of elaborate on them, yeah, in the section where you're really starting to develop them, right? But let's start it now, right? And schedule time to sit down with your advisors. Make sure that they know what the plan is. They know what the direction that you and your club leaders are moving with this, and what your plans are. Involve them. They are there, right? Like, so you might as well involve them in that. And then if this is an if, because all clubs have their own way of handling the next set of officers, right? So there's nothing that says, technically in theory, I mean, it would makes more sense because there was this summer break and then fall happens, right? But technically in theory, you can have a club who decides to have elections, in December, right? And the officers of that club at that time leave, and then the new ones start in spring. You could technically do that. And you could have elections. I don't know, I don't think many clubs do that, but it really just depends, right? Like, but if you have the ability to meet with your successor, the next person who's going to be in your position, it is extremely useful to be able to have them shadow you, right? Just be able to communicate, and you can like really be able to give that one-on-one interaction that lets them really understand a little bit better than just reading it on a document, right? So yeah, if you have the opportunity, take it, but it really just depends on how your club operates. But and then you know, if we had any incoming, hey, do we have any, Louis, I think okay, Louis, I think is a new incoming officer. Well, dude, hey, I'm just gonna tell you right now, you know, things to think about. Like I said, be prepared to ask questions during the transition, right? Like, good questions lead to answers and information, knowledge, with experience, which that's wisdom, right? Like knowing, you can't do something if you don't know, right? So it's there are not great questions, right? I'm not gonna say there are never dumb questions, but sometimes there are questions that make completely no sense and not the best work that you maybe ever asked. Come on, Louis, have you ever asked a question that someone just goes, "What are you saying?" Right? Like, we all know that we don't always have our best days, but in general, there are really no bad questions. You're trying to get some information, so ask away. Make sure you get thinking about that, right? And then yeah, you're taking on the leadership role, right? So you're stepping up into that seat. Um, you have, I don't want to say it as like it's a demand, but you need to make sure that you've got what you need to be successful in helping to lead the club and to fulfill the goals and the mission of what the club's about. So yeah, make sure that you're getting what you need from that, right? So if there's opportunities to ask questions, if there's opportunities to say, hey, I need you to kind of go into more detail about that. Make sure that you're speaking up. You're advocating for your club by being a leader, right? Advocate for yourself to be that great leader, right? So just make sure that you're getting what you need to do your best work. And then, yeah, set deadlines is always great. Attempt to do that. Small goals is something I've always used to try to accomplish that. Lets me, assess where I'm at if I get not meeting something. But, just try to, if it's useful, use it, right? Make some deadlines. It doesn't mean they're set in stone, but just it might help you manage your time and the preparation a little bit better, right? So yeah, and that's a lot with that slide, right? So and then we practice to say at the same time questions, but let's do it again. One, two, three questions. There we go. Woo! And then I don't know what that beep was. Wolfpack alert test not message, no action required. Well, thank you for interrupting our workshop. So yeah, if you have questions that we'll answer them now. We will also. I know that there's so many people that are wanting to ask questions to get answered. We would love to take them all. We're also going to show some more examples here, some of the other stuff, which I think will give a lot of insights. If you're really lost, but if you have questions that maybe you just don't want to ask right now in front of everybody, feel free to send an email to clubs, right? And, we checked that, we got you. So as I'm gonna be pulling up, this stuff, does anyone in the room or anyone online, we're gonna have to do it one at a time here for that one. Anyone that, have questions that they have? You want to answer while I'm pulling that up?
When is the incentive program due?
I think it's due the last week before we graduate, correct, Sean?
It's due May next. Yeah, you're right.
So last week of, before graduation, so I guess
Yeah.
like what you mentioned, like May 9th around
Yeah. Yep. Okay,
then. I
so
mean,
let's see.
also should be pretty close to the third level anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I saw last night, I'm pretty sure, I saw some submissions from future healthcare professionals come in last night that I went ahead and approved. So, I mean, I think they're at like 225 now. I mean, they're like right there. Like they got like the club's year-end report in, that's 50, that's at 275. And then I think they had one thing, easy thing to do or whatever, and then boom, 300. Maybe like, woo, like, and then that's a $600, right? When like, so, yeah, I didn't know, did you ask what club they're from, you?
Yeah, sure, I mean, what kind of that
It's health club,
Health club?
Future Health.
Oh, health club.
Future Health Club.
That's great club, great leaders and super sweet, advisors, I mean, like, woo, nuts. All right, let's, see if I can find, this is what I meant to share. I will, I'll do copy this link and I will, post it in the chat because that makes more sense if this wasn't gonna update the thing, but this form, will let you have access to this, but basically, what this one is a suite document where, some people it's practice, it takes practice to be able to write transition documents, really detail what you do on any sort of recurring basis, right? It's kind of like I was telling Elijah and Carol, it's kind of like, doing like a third person view narration, right? Practice makes perfect, right? Or I should say perfect practice makes perfect. Bad practice makes just bad performance, but yeah, so it's like, I tried to kind of find a different way of approaching this, right? So, here we go, like, just summarize what your role is, right? Like, you're answering questions that kind of seem a little more like just laid back, not it's not like you're feeling like you're actually maybe, filling out something in transition documents, but you'll realize at the end of this that I actually have provided some context, right? Some things that are very important, right? Let's, yeah, whether tasks you, what did you find difficult? I mean, that's really a very, very, important question. And so, like, it really makes you have to reflect and look and say, like, what things just did not go as I planned? Like, how can I maybe help provide some guidance, right? I mean, here we can use the, example of, the spring involvement for last year. It did not go well. It got canceled. The messaging, we attempted and thought it was going on at the right time, but it didn't. And then when we came back from some break, it just ended up being, not good to the point where we had to cancel it, right? So what did we do? We looked at and reflected on how we could change that, how we could get the messaging out better, like tweak the ingredients of the recipe. And this year, I would say we were trying to go for 10, 11 clubs and we got 10, 11, clubs, right? So we were able to make that work and we found a way that a recipe that worked. That's something that's worth sharing, right? Let's see if we can, pull up and, Carol's, right? Like, Carol started filling out one,
She shared it on Teams.
yeah, and I like, was like, oh, here you go. So yeah, Carol started filling it out, using this exact sheet. And this is not just good for groups. I mean, just clubs only. It's good for groups in general. Transition document. I said at the beginning of this, transition documents are many things, big, small, whatever, right? If you search transition documents on Google, right, you're going to get a bunch of different answers and a bunch of different things, right? And here we go. Here's a one word. It's like, wow. We see that club development coordinator it has all these things to do, right? And I think you asked the question about, earlier about what level of detail needs to be put into this, right? And my response, I think would surprise you a little bit, right? It's completely up to you. I'll let you make that call, right? And then I said, well, if you were coming into a position, I want you to fill it out to whatever you think would be the most helpful for you coming in and having somebody give you some helpful tips or and guidance, right? So it's like, hey, there's no really wrong answer, but murder is never first, right? But nothing is not what we want. We want clubs and groups to be thriving and successful, get new members, have great events, earn money. We want all those things, right? And that means that the club needs to be living and just operating. And these transition documents help provide that. I mean, I'm very impressed just to see how much, that she filled this out, just earlier this morning, and, so like, this isn't great. I mean, this right here you can take all this, right? Adjust it to maybe change the messaging and put it maybe in a Word document, or you couldn't just leave it as is and share that. It's up to you, right? But then I'll share a crazy document that I made as the end piece here when leading student senate. Again, starting in February, knowing I'd be done in May, start putting together my document, and it's a lot more crazy, right? But I thought what would be helpful, right? So my document really is from one president to another. What is good? So I use some of the same techniques, right? Yearly overview here, right? So, but I kind of made it a little bit more organized. You could see, like, you could actually click and go to things, but having when meetings took place. I mean, those district board of trustee meetings, they meet about the first Wednesday of the month. So I have that in there because I know that that's going to be important for the next president to know. They may not know the date. I may not know the date, but they know that it's the first Wednesday of the month. It's important. But what software, what programs they use, right? Giving just enough context so that they know why they need to use them, not so much step by step, but just enough so they're not in a small little island in a big ocean, right? And then maybe some advice at the end, right? Like things that just you learn that were helpful, right? So I'm gonna say that we did start maybe a little 11 minutes late, but we're gonna get out of here on time. And so if you got any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll share this out again and make sure that everything is accessible. Ask questions from ELT. We want to help make sure you have some good transition documents, but other than that, you have a great rest of your day, right? Do you want any last bits?
Yeah, I mean, kind of seeing Carol's draft of her transition document
Yeah,
and Sean's. Both are two different scales.
yeah,
One's a president role. They're both leadership roles, but I guess an advice that I kind of want to give when thinking about my document is kind of the perspective. So these are like, we're assuming people going into our position, they don't really have a leader. This is their first leadership role.
but yeah, it could be.
And so, hard to think about from their position, like Sean said. So you don't want to have so much info kind of scaring them because it's their first position, the first leadership role. But at the same time, you don't want to kind of downplay your, position. So
Keep very,
so kind of just think about those things when you write. your transition document.
Very valid, actually. I mean, I'm a technology guy. Technology's, I'm good at that, right? But someone may not have that knowledge. You don't have to walk them through all of that, but you have to at least make sure that they know how to use the stuff, right? Or at least try to help them, right? All right, but you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see all of you later. It's so great to see so many happy faces, and you just keep on trucking and have a great rest of your day. Later, gang. Leaving the meeting. Leaving it now.